We were on the way to my grandparents' house in Delaware. I could barely wait to get in the house and walk around after being in the car for 4.5 hours. As we pulled into the neighborhood, I could see the green tanks emerging from the ground. These were the propane tanks used to power the community. I later realized and thought about when my grandma told me a couple months ago that they switched from propane to natural gas. I thought to myself, maybe they just didn't take the tanks out yet. I was excited for my aunt and uncle's wedding. My uncle was kind of a strange guy, but I was happy to see him. The next day, I woke up to hear the TV blasting downstairs. My grandma was watching the news. A man had been murdered in my grandparents' neighborhood. My uncle creepily emerged from the stairway and commented,
"Aw, the poor man."
The next day, 49 kids were abducted from a bus. They were nowhere to be found, and the police searched everywhere, from the air and on the ground. The next night, there were 5 disappearances. The community had a meeting, and my grandma went to it, and I went along with her. It was mostly boring, and old people fighting about silly things, like whether the lawn should be 3 or 3.5 inches tall, or if the kids should swim in the pool after 5 or 5:10. But then they brought up another issue. The pond in the community was strangely rising, but there hadn't been rain in almost a week. The fish pond was right next to my grandparents' house. The issue quickly came and went. I never really thought anything about it. They also talked about the old propane tanks. Why weren't they taken out yet? Then I remembered I saw them when I pulled into the community. The night after the community meeting, a man was murdered again, and this time it was caught on video doorbell. It was my grandpa at an 86-year-old man's house. It caught him murdering 15 other elderly people in the neighborhood. They arrested my grandpa, and he said he had no idea about anything other than watching the news. The next morning, once again, the news was blaring out of the TV and woke me up. On the news, there was a mental asylum patient that had escaped. The description matched my uncle. They quickly questioned my grandpa. They searched the house and found bloody knives in the cellar. The fingerprints matched my uncle's. The police later questioned my uncle and asked him where he put the bodies. He admitted to murdering the people. He said he threw them in the community pond. The police looked into it and found the pond was rising because 37 bodies were taking up the volume. The uncle had 37 counts of murder. He got life in prison plus 750 years without parole. The police investigated why the propane tanks were still there. Turns out that they weren't propane tanks, and it was my uncle's secret bunker. The uncle would reside here after he had escaped from the mental asylum. When the police went down in the bunkers, they found the 49 kids from the bus. My aunt married a mental asylum patient.